Hi, I'm Laura Borland, host of Gladverse TV. I am so excited to be sharing a second season of this show. Last season was about bouncing back. This season is about giving back. And I have 13 of the most extraordinary women telling compelling stories of why they give. Welcome to Gladverse TV, where the silver lining is always our North Star. In this new season, we're focusing on giving back. We want to know what drives people to create community with people who feel like they are alone. And as my next guest was living life, humming along, the unthinkable happened. With 4 fantastic children, grandchildren coming along, and more than enough of everything, her then husband decided he wanted a different life. After sobbing and screaming through her own midlife divorce, she decided to use what she learned to help other women navigate that ordeal more gracefully than she did. In 2007, Radical was born. Radical equals rising above divorce in confidence and love. Guiding other women on that difficult midlife divorce recovery road has become her mission and her passion. Although this mission is not what she had planned for her life, it is bringing rewards that she can't even describe. And as long as she is able, she will gladly step up and do everything she can to help. Welcome, 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 Suzy.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh my God. You know, what an amazing story of just resilience and finding your zen and just paying it forward to make it easier for other women facing your situation to navigate a little bit simpler. Tell me, what has been the journey for you in terms of once you decided to help, and how many people you've helped and the impact that it's had on your life?
Oh, wow. Well, when my husband, I don't like the word ex-husband, so I call him my husband.
I love it.
So when he decided, he wanted this other woman, I for 3 long agonizing years, we were separated, and he kept promising he was done with that, and he was not, that he just never could give that relationship up. So after 3 years, I just said, I can't be the woman I was created to be and stay in a relationship like that. And so I am the one who filed, and it was against everything in me to file for divorce, but I just, like I said, I couldn't be the woman I was created to be and stay in that kind of relationship. So I just kind of finally fell on my face, and I don't know where everyone is on the God thing. Everyone's on their own path, but I just said, I hate this. I don't want to be divorced, but if you can somehow use it for something good, I'll try to go along. And I said something like, and I think you could have been more help these last few years, but that's just So
you had that first conversation with God, like, look, I can't believe you had me suffering like this for 3 years. I love it.
I know. So when that happens, when you say to God, I'm going to try to let you use this for your purposes, you better have on your running shoes, because he starts using you right away. At least he did in my case. And there was a group of women I knew who were kind of going through that process. I didn't know them in person, but they were either a friend of a friend, but there were about 6 women. I just called them up and said, listen, I'm not doing very well with this. Do you want to just get together every other week or so and talk about how to do this? Because none of us, you don't get divorced every day. So about 6 people showed up, and I told my therapist, I said, what if we just sit around the table and we start crying and we can't stop? And she said, don't worry about that. My brother said, well, what time are they coming? And I said, well, they're supposed to be here at 7. He said, at 7:15, I'll call, and you pick up the phone, and if all I hear in the background is just uncontrollable sobbing, I'll come help get everybody home. But even that very first night, it was amazing, because every person around the table understood, how I was feeling. Our friends don't really get it. Our family doesn't get it unless they through it. Our kids don't understand after a long marriage, what it's like for your partner just to say, I'm done, right when things are getting to be a little more so you can spend more time together. And, and it's just a very difficult time to divorce because your kids are getting more independent. Your parents are needing more help, kind of reevaluating a lot of things. But that very first night, it was just like this new sisterhood, and we just got started talking about things that we were facing and that kind of thing, and we decided early on that very first night that we would give ourselves radical names because we didn't want anyone to talk about what we decided, so your first name, a book club friend told me this, your first name is the name of your first pet and your second name is the name of the street where you lived in elementary school. That's if you could start a new career in exotic dancing or something. So I'm Frisky Ridgewood. And all of our radical women on our community, they all pick their radical names. So whenever I'm feeling I'm Frisky Ridgewood. And I actually think if I ever had to really struggle to buy groceries, that wouldn't be a bad name for a club.
I love. Oh, I love that. I love the humor in it. I love the levity of it. I think it's fantastic. That is great stuff.
So we were the radical women, and we just methodically started talking about things we needed to do. But on that first night, I did, just to kind of give us some sort of, agenda, I just gave him a binder that said radical, and that means, rising above divorce and confidence and love. And then I put a practical handbook to help us, get over divorce and find our new path in life or something like that. And then down at the bottom, I said a subtitle, how to keep from strangling him and his pathetic little girlfriend and ending up in jail. And instead finding joy, peace, happiness, and, fun or something like that.
Oh my gosh. I think your approach to it, where you have these kind of tongue-in-cheek moments where you're right on the fringe, right, of just being like, yeah, really, I don't know, like you're turning the sarcasm into humor, or the pain into humor. I think that is so important because having been divorced myself, there was a point where divorce, I think, is one of the most painful things about divorce is that you're divorcing his family as well.
I know.
And the detachment, I was very close to his family, and I felt, I don't know, it wasn't just leaving this one person, it was like all of these people.
No, I know. It's just, I mean, there are so many losses in divorce, especially midlife. Those extended family relationships, and also my husband, most of our friends were based on his occupation. He was a physician, so all of the friends kind of went with him. And I mean, the couple friends, I still had people who, checked in on me and were great friends, but mainly all my social connections really were through that. And then when your kids leave home, all the games and all the school stuff, and that's all gone. And then, I mean, when we finally divorced after 2 years, my last child left home, and it was the first time I had ever lived alone in my life, ever. I went straight from my parents to, college, and then we got married in college, and then and so it was a real adjustment for me. But, so there are just so many losses involved in a midlife marriage.
I'm curious, because I'm doing my doctorate in social work, and part of my my capstone is really dealing with social isolation as a construct. Yeah. And I would love to hear from you that feeling, like when you were first alone, and how do you navigate the peace that is in your home, right? Because there is something about like learning to embrace the solitude.
Oh yeah, it's a very, very big deal. And when we did research, when we first got started as an organization to help other people, the three top things were loneliness, finances, and kids. But that loneliness piece is just, suddenly where you were a part of all these different subgroups around your marriage and your kids,
Right.
and then suddenly you are, it was me and the dog, and so it is a very hard thing to, and especially if extended family members, his are out of the picture too for the most part, and ours don't seem to understand us. So it's just such an isolated feeling, and that's why connection with other women who are on this road is so important. And that's why we started our community, so that women from all over the world, and they use their radical names, no one knows who they really are, and
I love that.
everywhere, they're sharing what they've learned, things that have helped for them. And have you ever read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point?
No, but listen, I'm a huge Malcolm Gladwell fan. I think he is an extraordinary voice.
He's a great thinker, and he said, if you have a group of therapists sitting around a table and a group of random strangers sitting around a table, the random strangers solve the problem more efficiently than the group of experts, because the experts are all coming from sort of the same books and the same thinking. But we've got farm women, opera singers, teachers, stay-at-home moms. We've got every kind of, and so they bring a lot of different perspectives to the problem, and you get solutions that way. So it's just the community is just such a big part of getting better.
So how many active members do you currently have in this community?
I think we have about 1,700 and something like that for right now, but people come and go, and some people stay just a short time. Some people stay a long time because they like to stay in and encourage the new ones.
I love all of it.
Mentoring is such a huge part of it too, because you've got, at the beginning, you think I am never going to really be happy again. But you've got these women several years out saying, it does get better. You do turn the corner. Just hang in there, and it's so encouraging to have those people farther along the road, giving you encouragement.
For sure. I mean, I can definitely see where there would be some validity in that, in the sense, one, that a diverse group would be more efficient in terms of providing a solution or challenging you to think in a very different way.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that in itself is cathartic. It is therapeutic. And then there's other aspect of it too. It's, we all go through different phases, different challenges in our lives. And when you find that group that is so aligned with at least the base of your problem, right? The nuances are always going to be there, but when you find that group that, gosh, I can exhale.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And people in the community are it's like they go on there sometimes late at night and just vent. And they know that the people listening are going to listen with a friend's heart, a fellow warrior's heart, and they know that they can just say whatever they need to say, get it out there. It's like you're journaling a lot of times. Just get it out there and get it out. And then, the other women will chime in and say, hey, when I was going through that part, this is what helped me. Or, it's just an amazing way that the community works. And it's really one of the most important parts of what we do.
So what would you say then? What would you say then about what has helped you the most?
You mean as far as recovery?
Yes.
Well,
outside of the community.
It really all comes down to making that decision that you are not going to let this destroy your life. You have to physically, mentally, emotionally decide, I am not going to let this determine my level of happiness. I'm going to determine that. So I think just deciding that, and then at the beginning, it starts with just the survival, and when you're actually in those very early days, just getting your feet on the floor is a major accomplishment.
I know.
People understand that. So we put together this little survival 6 card, get up, take a shower, fix your face, get dressed, eat something, and get moving. And if people do those 6 things at the very beginning every day, and I was speaking out at Pepperdine, and this guy stood up in the audience and said, I know your book is mainly for women right now, but I read it 5 times, and the survival 6 saved my life. And, it's true. I mean, you just are at such a loss of how to even start. And divorce, as you know, is just this overwhelming, exhausting trip where, it's just in your head all the time, the actual process of it. And then after all that's done, you have to figure out, okay, where do I go from here? Where do I go from here?
It's so interesting that you mentioned that those survival tips, because they are actually in my journals. The one that I have for bereavement has pretty much the same things. And the other one I have for breakups has basically, that is part of your daily checklist. Get out of bed. Did you shower? Did you eat a full meal?
Yeah, right.
Did you eat a meal?
Right. I was going to say, at the beginning, I could not eat a full meal. I just felt kind of sick all the time. So I just kept healthy snacks around, cereal, easy stuff to fix. And I would just eat days all day and try to make sure I had all the nutrients I needed, and I ended up in the hospital once because I wasn't drinking enough. You just are in this other world and you're not. The very first thing is, and people always say, take care of you, put your oxygen mask on first, but you do have to just make that choice. I am going to survive this, and I'm going to start with just doing these 6 things every day, and then I'll go on from there. And just the whole recovery process of divorce is just so complicated and long. Sometimes it takes years to do it, and it's just exhausting. And so if you can kind of just make sure that you are doing all those physical things for yourself first of all, and then making each new step. And I think most of us, I got in this place of just obsessing about what I did wrong, what could I do differently, why does he love her and he didn't love me, what are they doing, all these obsessive thoughts. But when I finally learned how to kind of put those in a box as part of my grief work, and then when those obsessive thoughts came back into my head, I would just say, go away, I've got work to do today, I will give you time again tomorrow. And then every morning I would have 15 minutes where I just let myself go into that dark place and cry or sob or whatever, scream, throw things. And then, but if those thoughts came back into my head later in the day, I would say, go away, I don't have time right now. So, you do have to take control of your thinking and your actions. But like I said, it's just so exhausting and overwhelming, so much stuff that you finally have to say, okay, all I need to do is figure out the next best thing. What am I going to do today to get closer to the life that I've deserved all along, and just do some small thing and be content with that small thing, because you can't fix everything today.
Sure.
But you can always do something in the right direction. And the only minute we can do anything about anyway is the minute we're in right now. So you can always decide to do something positive in that moment and just keep putting those moments together.
I think what you were saying, and what a great way to wrap this show, is brilliant in the sense that we, as human beings, we like to replay the past. It becomes like, and it's just one moment that, is such a shock to our psyche that is the moment that we choose to dwell on. Yeah. And that is what often keeps us stuck. So like, for instance, like even with my journaling for the bereavement piece, a big portion of it is to think about happy memories of the person you're with. Because if they died, let's say in a tragic event, that's the only thing you're thinking about, right? Were they in pain, all those things. But what a wonderful life of memories, a lifetime of good memories. And I think if, we can honor ourselves with going, 33 years, but guess what? 29 of them, we had fun. Yeah. And I think it softens the space in which you are able to speak about the situation, right? People move on. right?
It takes a long time to get there. I mean, the grief of divorce is different than the grief of, like, if he had just fallen off the edge of the earth, it wouldn't be as hard as him making the choice to leave, making that choice.
Yeah.
And that was the hard part for me to get over. And then those visual pictures we paint in our head about the two of them together and how much fun they're having and how much fun I'm not having. It just kind of starts. And I tell people all the time, I don't sometimes like that term, you have to let it go, but I tell them you have to get off of your plate two things. Number one is anything you can't change. And number two is anything you can't control. So you cannot change one thing that's happened in the past. Now you can learn from it, you can, but you cannot change it. And you cannot control one thing anyone else is doing, what he's doing, what the girlfriend's doing, what your family's doing. You can only control yourself. So when you start understanding that and then just saying, I can't be just obsessed with things I can't change and I can't control. And then I go to saying, you have to answer that one question. What am I going to do in this moment to get closer to the life that I deserve? And so, you do have to learn to put those two things away. Like I said, you can spend a little time learning from the past, but you cannot set up camp there,
Suzy, I could speak to you like for hours. I can't even get to tell you how much I've learned from just our 20 minutes together. Like, you opened up like a different perspective for so many people. A situation that affects 50% of American families will experience this at some point, but really speaking in a way that honors your journey and using your story as a way to help other people. I'm always so impressed by a giver's heart, and that, my friend, is what you have. I want to thank you so much for being my guest today.
Well, it was a joy for me, and I too wish we had another hour.
I know, we have so much more to discuss. Suzy, thank you so much for your time. Take care. I think you're on mute. Let's see.
Let's see you. Bye.
All right. Take care.